So let me break down UFC fighter pay and let me just give you guys the straight truth down the middle. I have all the figures right here in front of me, made a lot of notes, really looked down and crunched the numbers. So the UFC pays their athletes 18% of the revenue. And if you look at it compared to the NFL, which people say that the NFL is a much larger organization, they have more money and they have more investors and more money to spend on their athletes. The UFC has billions and billions of dollars in revenue, and they are signing new deals with cryptocurrency. They're signing new deals with Venom, and their athletes only receive a paltry sum of that. Not even an equitable amount. Like you receive around 10% of that deal, or they receive only 13% on the cryptocurrency deal that they've had with this new cryptocurrency guy sponsor. 13%, and then they receive 18% of the overall revenue. But in terms of single avenues of streams, new incomes, Dana White takes most of the money. But at the same time, obviously, it costs a lot of money to put up events, and it costs a lot of money to book events, and it costs a lot of money to get permits and all of these different things and these bureaucratical items that you need to get for the bureaucracy and for the council and whatever. So those things cost money. I understand medical fees. You got to pay your employees as well. But at the same time, and then you got to pay the ring card girls. But who deserves a fair amount? And a fair amount would be 50%, close to 15, at 50. I mean, if that's not feasible because they have high fixed costs and they have other variable costs that they have to account for, I understand that those things happen. But the thing is, the fighters are a variable cost on your expenditure as a business for Dana White. So the variable cost as the fighters pay and how much they get paid, they're not even medically covered by the UFC. So the UFC is not really investing enough in the fighters for it to make sense. I guess I mean Dana even said it out of his own words. He said, "This is not a career. This is an opportunity." So, it's really, really, really hard for someone to make it in the UFC and to be a fighter that fights regularly and makes regular money and even is in a top 15 gatekeeper. And then you lose, and then it becomes a job, and it's really hard, A lot of the fighters in the UFC, they have second jobs, and they work second jobs, and they don't have enough money to sustain themselves. And even the top guys, they don't get paid what they deserve. The UFC takes the majority and the chunk of the revenue. And I get it, they put up the shows, and the reason why MMA is big is because of the UFC. And if the UFC didn't exist, but there would be another company like Bellator. They put up fights and events, and they pay their fighters a lot more, and ONE FC pays their fighters a lot more, and these other organizations that are a lot smaller, they probably pay their fighters a larger share and chunk of the revenue. So I think the concept of a fighter union and trying to make all fighters come under the same umbrella in terms of business, I think can be possible, because I think all fighters should have an agent. If they don't have an agent, then I think they should have someone on the outside that's going to give them advice, because they may not always look at it from a good point of view. Because I think all of the fighters being in the same accord makes sense monetary wise. Obviously, you're gonna fight, but you can come on the same accord in terms of how much you're getting paid. Because this is about money. This isn't about fighting. It's about money. It's about fighting, but it's also about money. Because how else are you going to pay your bills? So I think all the fighters coming under the same umbrella and having a fighters union, and then whenever Dana White lowballs them, then they can all sit out and not take part in these events that are happening. So that means Dana White has no shows to put on. If all the fighters came under one umbrella and said, "Okay, we're not going to fight until you give us more money," then Dana's gonna be forced to up the sum. But then that's the thing, that would never happen, because the reason why that would never happen, I think it could, I think it's possible, but it's not possible. It depends on the fighters, it can happen, but it can't happen. But people say it can't happen because because the fighters there's always gonna be someone that's gonna take the title shot. So if Kamaru Usman is fighting, let's say he's fighting Masvidal, Masvidal says no, I want more money. Usman says no, I want more money. Then what's gonna happen is Covington's gonna fight another guy for the title. You know, it's like I'm giving you guys an example. That's how it works. There's always going to be someone that's going to be willing to fill that spot. There's someone that needs the money bad enough. There's someone that's willing to take any fight, any check. Gilbert Burns, he's willing to take any fight for any amount of money. He doesn't care. It's like you're willing to fight for peanuts. But, you know, nobody knows their situation. People have bills and they have things they have to pay, or they have addictions that they have to keep going. And Dana White, I feel like he's a scumbag because he's not giving the fighters that amount of money they deserve. It's really, really bad because you guys, I saw the not Congress, but what's that guy's name? The fighter, Randy Couture. He was doing a speech to politicians about how Dana White doesn't pay his fighters enough. And he talked about the Muhammad Ali Act. And that protects boxers. That's why boxers make a lot more than MMA fighters. Because they're protected by the Muhammad Ali Act. MMA fighters are not protected by that act. So then Dana White can just take advantage of them and he can look at them as a bag of money. And that's what they are, but at least pay them more money. At least pay them what they deserve. At least pay them a larger share. At least pay them what they deserve. They've put their bodies on the line. They've put their life on the line. I get it. They can work another job. They don't have to do this. No one puts a gun on their head. But at the same time, at the same time, no one's putting a gun to Dana's head. Why doesn't he do the right thing and pay them what they deserve? Did you guys see how much money, Dan Hardy made against GSP? He made $29,000, and that was less than the amount of money GSP spent on his training camp. Why do you think Masvidal is complaining about fighter pay? Why do you think all of these fighters are complaining about fighter pay? There's no smoke without fire. Ariel Helwani, he mentioned it. Brandon Shaw, he mentioned it. Jake Paul, he mentioned it. You think everybody's lying? You think all these motherfuckers lying, Dana White? You think all of us are lying, Dana? Are all of us lying? Are all of us liars, Dana White? John Jones asking for $15 million is crazy. Oh my God, he should never ask for that much money. I get it, domestic violence, but then nobody cares about what's that other guy's name that fucking beat his wife in domestic charges and shit. Chuck Liddell. No one cares about that dude. Everybody cares about John Jones. He did the same shit, domestic battery. He was arrested. No one cares about John Jones. No one cares about Chuck Liddell. Everybody's talking shit about John Jones. Why do you think that is? It's race. I know. I said it. There you go. Anyways, man, I'm out. Peace.